May I request Dr. Venkatraman to introduce our chief guest, Professor Dr. B.M. Hegde.
Good morning, everybody. Honestly speaking, he doesn't really require an introduction. It is not only the medical field, but also the common man have greatly indebted to Dr. B.M. Hegde. He is here with us. On this occasion, there are two great people here. One Hanuman, another one is Dr. Gopikar, and he is the follower of those tradition. Though he is not a homeopath, he follows the tradition of being honest, sincere to the general public, and that is how the Hegde has been groomed. While receiving him in the car, I asked him two questions, and I know you will not be answering to that questions. It is difficult to answer. I didn't expect the answer also from him. The two questions, again I will repeat. How you have time and energy to read so much, remember and write so many articles? That is the question number one. Number two, how we are surviving after writing so many articles? You will have more enemies than friends. It's true. But he answered. That is the beauty. He answered it. I have a duty to my people. I have to live up to my conscience. And that's why I am doing it. Such a great person who excelled in every field of medicine, every field of aspect, great humanitarian. And unfortunately, he has to leave little early, and that's why before all our programs, I invite him to be present with you. Thank you.
வணக்கம். நான் தமிழ்ல பேசலாம்னு நினைச்சேன், ஆனா வேண்டான்னு இல்லை, கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டமாக இருக்கும். என்னென்னா அந்த இங்கிலீஷில் திங்க் பண்ணி தமிழில் பேசுறது கஷ்டம், தமிழ்லேயே திங்க் பண்ண பரவாயில்ல, அது கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டம் இருக்குது. அதனால இங்கிலீஷ்லேயே பேசுறதுக்கு உங்கள் பர்மிஷன் கேட்குறேன். ரெஸ்பெக்டட் கமிஷனர் Mr. Ramanathan, whom I am meeting for the first time today, but I am very much impressed by him. I still remember there used to be one Peri Shastri, who was the director of the Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Training for these IAS, IPS officers. He was requesting, in the early 70s, he was requesting me to go over to their institute and give 1 month's lectures to these IAS, IPS, what do you call those? Trainees, so new appointees, which I of course do regularly for the IRS people, income tax, etc., in Nagpur regularly. So only problem with Peri Shastri was they could give only train fare to go to Mussoorie on a train. It will take about 10 days for me from Mangalore, and it was so difficult. So after some, I told Shastri Saab, if you can get me airfare, I'll come. But train fare is difficult because I can't spend so many days. But what he wanted was to teach these young boys and girls the real education. What happens to most of us? We don't have education, we have literacy. Education is something totally different. In the olden days, India had, like Britain, binary system of education. That is, the universities gave humanities education, which is very vital, and the non-university institutions gave vocational training. They made you a doctor, made you an engineer, made you this, made you that, made you a plumber, made you an IAS officer, etc., etc. But the real education came from humanities. Even today, if you go to Australia in Brisbane, you can't go to the medical school unless you have a degree in humanities. Degree. It can be music, it can be art. See, we have to realize that the greatest thing of a man's life is to acquire humility. And this young man, I was so pleased because he is humble to the core. And I think Ramanathan is the highest qualified man in the Tamil Nadu. Because I interact with a lot of IAS officers. You know, these youngsters, you must see. Even 2 months ago, I was in the IRS academy. The arrogance of those boys and girls, you must see. You know, they think they are on the top of the world. little do they realize that higher you go, the humbler you should be. There's a nice little couplet written by a Rashtra Kavi in Kannada. I will translate that to Tamil. காலையில் இந்த சூரியன் இருக்கானே மேலே வருவானே, மேலே வந்துட்டே இருப்பான். அவன் சண்டை போடுறான், டார்க்னஸை கூட சண்டை போட்டுட்டு வெளியே வரான். வந்து அப்படியே மேலே போகிறப்பயே சின்னதாக போகிறான். அவன் என்ன சொல்கிறான்னா, கவி என்ன சொல்கிறான்னா, மேலே போனவன் சின்னதாக இருக்கணும். இது இந்த லோகத்துக்கு டெய்லி அவன் ரிமைண்ட் பண்ணிகிட்டே இருக்கான். ரொம்ப நல்லா சொல்கிறான். ஏறுவனு ரவி, ரவி இஸ் சன், ஏறுவனு goes up. கத்தலுடனே ஜகளாடுவன், he is fighting with darkness. ஏரிದಂತಲೇ ಚಿಕ್ಕವನಾಗಿ ತೋರುವನು, when you go up you become smaller and smaller. ಏರಿದವನು, one who goes up, ಚಿಕ್ಕವನಾಗಿರಬೇಕಿಲೇ, humbler, is proclaims to the world every day. What a beautiful saying. And vidya dadhati vinaya, that is education. And Ramanathan, I am very proud of you. I am not praising you because I am not in Tamil Nadu to get any breadcrumbs thrown by you. I am not praising you because you are an IAS officer. I am telling you because I know arrogant to the core IAS officers. They are a menace to this country, I tell you. Because they are the same ICS mentality. They are British in thinking, British in morals, British in ethics, Indian in blood and Indian in color. But here is an exception. He is an Indian in color, Indian in blood, Indian in thinking, Indian in morals, and very much an Indian. Then the veteran homeopaths, they are all giants on the days, one after another. Then all of you friends and my friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, I have been asked by your president to talk about these great people. Kopikar, Dr. Kopikar. Kopikar, the surname reminds me of something. We used to have a professor of anatomy called Kopikar. Very great man, very nice man. So maybe the same family this gentleman also belongs to. Is that right? Yeah. So Kopikar was a very nice man. I could make out from his face. The whole man's face is, everything is written in the face. Heinemann was a great thinker. Heinemann was a doctor, an MD himself. But he couldn't save his little son from a septicemia. He was stitching something, button or something, the needle went into his hand and that became a septicemia and the boy died. So he lost faith in the system and he started thinking. You know, thinking is something that is missing in our educational system. Educational system must allow the child to think. Dr. Alexis Carrel is a Nobel laureate who is a surgeon who taught the present surgeons to make money by transplanting organs. If Alexis Carrel was not born, we wouldn't have had the bother of transplanting organs, because which is going against nature anyway. Alexis Carrel wrote a book called Man the Unknown. I want you to read. It's a nice book because it shows how a mind could be good and bad together. Because if you read the book at the end, he says all the psychiatric patients are a nuisance to society. They are a drain on the purse. They must all be gassed. This is the German, the Hitler mentality. But the book has some very good science in it, where he says every newborn child is a genius, only to be converted into an idiot in school. It's absolutely right. What do we do in school? We don't give real education. Education, if you go to Socrates' root term, educe, it's derived from Latin, educe. Educe means deliver. Educe is deliver, bring forth. What do you deliver? They deliver the best in the child out. So every teacher is a midwife. What does a midwife do? Stands by the side of a mother in pain, coaxing her, cajoling her, sympathizing with her, empathizing with her, helping her, assisting her to, and provoking her to deliver. Who delivers? The mother delivers. In the school, who delivers? The teacher delivers. That's the difference. No. Teacher's job is to stand by the side of a child in distress, coaxing the child, cajoling the child, provoking the child. After all, what is Gayatri Mantra? Prachodayat. Ultimately, you just tell God, you just provoke me to do my job. Prachodayat. I have to do my job. That's my job. And that's exactly what a teacher should do. On the contrary, we today have educare, which was started by the Roman Empire. Roman emperors thought, if everybody is educated like Socrates is thinking, then we won't be there in power. Because if the voters become educated, do you think the present lot will be in power? Certainly not. So that's how They thought we should tell them syllabus, NCERT, UGC, MCI, ABCD, and they tell you what to teach. 2 plus 2 is 4, right? Child has to learn 2 plus 2 is 4. Child can never say, should it be always 2 plus 4? If the child has known the uncertainty principle of Werner Heisenberg, for which he got the Nobel Prize, 2 plus 2 need not be 4 all the time. This world, there is only one thing in this world, uncertainty. There is no certainty at all. Don't you go around saying that I will treat all patients with swine flu, homeopathy has got treatment. There is no certainty, remember that, no certainty. Neither can a modern medical man say, I will treat all this with my whatever tablet, which is also not true. You will be surprised. A study in New Zealand last time, when there was what was called, quote unquote, swine flu epidemic, last time, you heard 2 years ago. New Zealand kept an audit and they found very interesting thing. Normally in New Zealand, whose population is about 1/10 of the Madras city population, maybe, whole country's population. And New Zealand used to have about 1,800 to about 2,500 deaths every season in winter because of flu. But during the so-called swine flu, only about 750 people died. So the study said swine flu is a blessing because it saved lot of deaths due to flu. What happened was they frightened everybody. Today in Chennai, if you read this morning's paper, you would be pissing in your own pants because they say swine flu is sweeping Madras. Half the number, they didn't write how many are there. Half the number of swine flu is in the city. Did you see the headline? Indian Express? You would be pissing in your pants. But you should be happy that swine flu does not kill normally. Unless you have a comorbidity. You have some other disease which is killing you almost. Swine flu will finish the job. That's all. Otherwise, very difficult. Very rarely youngsters, healthy youngsters die in flu. But that need not be swine flu, any ordinary flu. And there isn't anything called swine flu. They just made it H1N1, H1, H5N1. You can do all that. If you know that you are a microbiologist, virologist, and you know how to do that, you can just change it and make another virus. And most of the time, these viruses are made in laboratories which escape from laboratories. That's a different story. There's a big industry going on to produce deadly germs for warfare. Biological warfare is the future. Just as you produce atom bombs, you have biological warfare. I'm not saying this particular virus has come out. I mean, I know how this came out, but I'm not going to tell you that because the papers will tomorrow write something and then I'll get hit. So, in the paper, so don't sensationalize the issue. All I'm trying to tell you is don't get worried about swine flu. Though there is no treatment for swine flu, there is a treatment for everything, and that is improving your immune system. You improve your immune system, follow the simple hygienic methods. When you go out to the house, come back, wash your feet and wash your hands just as our ancestors did. I remember still in my village, you can't get into the house because there is water kept outside. So you remove your chappals, go there, wash your feet, wash your hands, and you go for a funeral, you can't go inside the house unless you take a bath. All these are hygiene, this observational research, thousands of years of research. And if you don't use your hands to pick your nose and put your hands on the eyes, etc., etc., before you do that, you wash your hands. You can't get any flu. And you don't catch flu by it. It's not flying like that in the air. And don't have that thing, here, putting on a mask. And the mask will get you swine flu. It won't prevent you. See, when somebody coughs, millions of germs are thrown out, but they fall into the ground. And that's why the WHO said, if you have anything cold, don't say, Aksh! You do that. While coming up in the lift itself, one of our colleagues had a cough. Aksh! She said, never do that. Because you are shaking hands with another person, transferring that. The WHO said the best is, Aksh! Nobody touches here. Okay? They told this, and it's all publicized all over the world. Whenever you want to cough, don't use your handkerchief, don't use your hand, use your axilla. Like that. It doesn't go anywhere. It just goes on your shirt. So you keep it there. You can wash your shirt later when you go home. Unless somebody hugs you and kisses your shirt and all, which is very rare. So just keep that, wash your hands, and you are safe. Only thing is, don't go in a closed place. If there is swine flu, don't go to a cinema theater because these air conditioners cannot filter viruses. Remember that. Air conditioner can filter bacteria. And air conditioners, especially central air conditioners, are very dangerous because the viruses, etc., live in them. In the ducts they live. So they come back and again. So even in your homes, don't sleep in an air-conditioned room. If you have a home air conditioner, take the filter out every week and wash it in some chemical and then re-put it. So that you are safe. But good air, nothing happens. But touch, you catch a cold. Have you heard that saying? Cold is transmitted by doorknobs. Doorknob is the easiest thing. Bus handles, the general telephone where you go and touch anything. Everybody touches, you also touch, and that's where the virus gets transmitted from person to person. It doesn't jump in droplets. That's why if you see the hospital beds, they're 6 feet apart. Even if a TB patient coughs, oh, and then it'll get sprayed and go down and touch the ground in 3 feet. So I request the health secretaries that hospital should not be swept. Poor people with their broom, they sweep it. That's the time it all gets airborne and people can breathe it. If you have that vacuum cleaner, hospital should have vacuum cleaner and wet swabs. So you don't spread diseases. Otherwise, hospital is one of the places where you get very deadly infections. You would be surprised that the medical establishment, I shouldn't be telling you this, is the leading cause of death in the audits in America have shown, out of which nosocomial infections acquired in the hospitals have a very high percentage of deaths, because these are deadly germs. They're called superbugs, because they live in the hospital where antibiotics are used left, right and center. They eat the antibiotic and become strong. You see our mosquitoes today. Mosquitoes were small in the olden days. They were quiet. You could kill them. Today, after eating DDT and living on it, they are so strong, they are like elephants. They're about to hit you anytime. So biological things should not be fought with chemicals. You should fight it with biologicals. You get a guppy fish, put it in your water sources. All the mosquito larvae will be eaten up by the guppy fish. It's a simple fish. You must know a biological enemy for everything. Now in America, they now have genetically engineered mosquitoes. These mosquitoes kill the other mosquitoes. But the only problem is if they mutate and become deadly mosquitoes, and then nobody can help them. This is unfortunate, because we have a reductionist view of everything. We say modern medicine is good because it's reductionist view. No, I would like you to have a healing system. Don't call it homeopathy, homopathy, anypathy. As long as you have sympathy and empathy for your patient, you are a good doctor. Remember that. You are a good healer. I wouldn't call you a doctor. Doctor is a very bad word. Doctor is derived from the word dossier. To dossier in Latin means to teach. What does a doctor teach? No, he need not be a teacher. What is a teacher? Teacher is not one who teaches. Teacher is one who is a model for the class. A doctor is one who is a model for society. So a doctor must be a good human being. Now this is advantage. I'll tell you my own experience. When I was a student in Madras, the Madras General Hospital was one of the biggest hospitals in Asia. Probably even today it is. Just opposite the hospital, where there was a Park Town post office on the right side. On the left side, there was a small little clinic. U.L. Narayan Rao was the man. In 1956, U.L. Narayan Rao was 70. He had LIM as his qualification, which means he had LIM in 1890 or 1880. You know what they would have taught him in the LIM. But you see the queue for U.L. Narayan Rao's shop from China Bazaar, go up to Buhari Hotel, and then go to Paris Corner. திருவத்தியூரிலிருந்து தொண்டியார்பேட்டையிலிருந்து காலையில் 7 மணிக்கு வந்தாங்க நிற்கிறாங்க. General Hospital has an outpatient of about 1,000. UL Narayan Rao has an outpatient of 1,000. The old man had, probably his hearing was also not good. And he had a stethoscope, which I once saw, was about half this room size. Because he doesn't touch the patients. He had an assistant who will take the chest piece. So what patients do is they come in. Those days all mixtures. When we were students in the mixture, red mixture, yellow mixture. Today you have so many anti-acids, you swallow them in the morning when you have nothing. We had tincture gingiberis, that is ginger juice. Ginger juice is the best antacid. Actually it's an ideal antacid. Ginger juice and take green banana, your ulcer is also healed. No, today you have all the things which you have what's called a proton pump inhibitor, which will damage the heart also. We don't realize that. Reductionist ideas, they have a lot of ramifications. On the UL Narayan Rao, you put your bottle in that big receptacle, huge buckets are there, you put it there. And that goes to the third room, where multiple barrels filled with colored mixtures are there. So the compounder fills some mixture to some bottle. You go through the Narayan Rao's shop, room. Yenna, upon the assistant and go, then he goes. And he picks it up. But mind you, unless patients get better, because Narayan Rao did not have the advertisement that we doctors have today. Is word of mouth. A patient gets better in Thondiarpet, he says, yo, General Hospital, you will mixture. that he survived for years till he died. What did it show? A latest study, I'll tell you, a latest study, scientific study done in Oxford, Cambridge, Hamburg and Munich, led by the Oxford professor Bengel, which showed whatever medicine you give, what they did was they gave morphia, which is the most powerful painkiller, intravenously to patients with pain and told them, this is painkiller illa, this is not a painkiller, this is only a tonic we are giving you to improve your immune system. Not one person got pain relief. Same patients, they gave in another drip simple saline, salt water. And they said, this is better than morphine. This is a cousin of morphine we have discovered. 100% pain relief, 100% pain relief. Everybody got relieved from pain. What did they give? Salt water. What happens in the human being? They did fMRI. fMRI is a functional MRI. It tells you what the brain is doing. And when the patient gets pleased and has faith in the doctor, the forebrain produces so much chemicals, powerful chemicals, which are called opioids, to cure all diseases, including your pain. Can you believe that? This study has come. Science Translational Medicine, a journal. Science Nature, on the level the journal. Science Translational Medicine, March 17th, 2011. First author's name is Professor Bingel, Bingel. Which study now shows that if the doctor is good, diseases get cured. Did you get that? So this is the first lesson you understand. You can be homeopathy, you can be modern medicine, you can be anybody. Unless you are a good human being, you are not a good healer. Did you get that? You must have a heart of a healer. You must have compassion. Not simply sympathy, but empathy. What is empathy? You put yourself into his shoes. Then only the patient understands. And there is a nice book now, latest book, which is written by a Nobel laureate girl called Candace Pert. And the book's name is Molecules of Emotion. யாராவது படிக்கிறதுனா படிங்கோ, இது நல்ல புக் இது. சும்மா ஏதாவது அங்கே போய் ஆனந்த விகடன் கல்கி படிக்கிறதோட இந்த புக்கெல்லாம் படிக்கலாம். இல்லைன்னா ஃபில்ம் ஃபேர் இது விகடன் அதெல்லாம் படிக்கிறதோட இது நல்லது. படிங்க. What is the book's name? Molecules of Emotion, written by Dr. Candace, Candace, Pert, P-E-R-T. அவன் என்ன சொல்றான் தெரியுமா? In another 10 years time, she wrote it 10 years ago. In another 10 years time, when you have a headache, you don't go to your pill bucket to pick out a pill and take it. You sit down and meditate and bring your consciousness level to that relaxation state where your own brain produces enough chemicals to cure your headache. Beautiful, beautiful thing. I'll give you another book called Biology of Belief. You know belief? I think God exists. Or I don't think God exists. Both are beliefs. And there is a biology of belief. What this man has done is he's another potential Nobel laureate whose Nobel Prize was knocked off by his enemies. And his name is, he's a very big man, Bruce Lipton. Lipton theriyumilla, Cha Lipton, and the Lipton da. Bruce, B-R-U-C, Bruce Lipton. Bruce Lipton is a cell biologist. He studies these human cells. Your body is not heart, lung and all. Your body is a bundle of 50 trillion human beings, happy human beings living happily inside. Each one of those cells was a human being living individually for millions of years. Eventually they found out, they learned some economics. They found out it's economical to come together. They live together. So they live together as a human being. That's how we evolved. Then they found out that instead of each one, because each cell was doing eating, digesting, excreting, pissing, shitting, sleeping, thinking, everything. Instead of that, some of us can do some things. So they organize themselves specialized tissues called brain, heart, lung, etc., etc. Although the cells in these organs are looking different for the eyes, they function the same way. And every cell has a mind. That's why I wrote an article called Membrane. Cell has a cover, which is not the cover, it's the brain. And that is an antenna, which we call in our language as integrated membrane protein. So when that antenna gets the consciousness from the universe, you get born. When that antenna stops getting the consciousness from the universe, you die. Did you get that? And this is a beautiful book. Read that. Where he was an atheist. He was such an atheist that he was hating God. when he saw the cells grow and what they do and how they get born and how they die, he became a theist. Now he left his job as professor of cell biology and goes around the world telling people that don't look for God outside, God is inside. And God is energy, God is power. So beautiful. So friends, what is the essence today? Because De Villers said, when you want to talk to an audience, tell them first what you're going to tell them. Then tell them. Then at the end, tell them what you told them. Now I am telling you what I am going to tell you, and that is, to be a good homeopath, to be a good healer, you should be a good human being. Is it easy? இதுக்கு ஏதாவது போய் படிக்கணுமா, காலேஜில் போகணுமா, இல்லை, டிகிரி வேணுமா, வேண்டாம். You have to convert yourself into a human being. We are all animals. We must be human being. And how do you do that? Two things. Enthusiasm to work. காலையில் எழுந்திரிச்சு கேட்கணும், நான் இனி வேலைக்கு போகணுமா? And if my mind says, yes, I must go because I love my job, then you are healthy. Two, நான் யாருக்காவது ஏதாவது பண்ணணுமா? ஆமாம், அப்போ you are healthy. But do you know why you are here? You are here to help others. I'll give you an example. If you get a heart attack, God forbid, you shouldn't get it. And if you are still alive, because heart attack, 60% patients die instantaneously. Nobody can help them. The remaining 40% are our bakras where we make money. But if you are alive, do you know what happens in you? Heart attack is death of few cells. Few means billions. And when these cells die, the surrounding cells immediately say, oh my God, what has happened to my brother? He's dead? Okay, let me go there and help him. They slip out from their place, come there and occupy the place of the dead cells. Can you believe that? That's the second stage. First stage is cell death. Second stage is cell slipping. They come and, once they sit there, the cell where you are there has got some holding. Somebody holds you there. Cement, concrete. You have a stone there, some concrete there. This is called the cell's mother, which is called the fibroblast. Blast is a mother. So the mother says, where has my son gone? He won't normally go for anything. He must have gone to help somebody. I must also help him. How does it do? It produces more fiber. So fibroblastic proliferation. Lot of ropes are produced. So the cells have gone there to tie them, more ropes are produced. And then the cells far away, they can't slip and come that far. They say, what can we do? We must also help. We will become stronger. That's called hypertrophy in our language. So you get 4 stages and you get a beautifully repaired heart. Beautifully repaired heart without anybody's help. Because there is a doctor inside which is called the immune system, which does all these things. Remember that? And this is called your immune system. And this immune system is given to you by whoever it is. If you believe in God, it's God. If you don't believe in it, nature. Okay. The immune system has to be boosted, and that's the real healing. And that is the basis of Ayurveda. Swastasya swasta rakshitam. You preserve the health of the well, not cure. Ayurveda doesn't say you give this medicine for that, that medicine for this. No. You preserve the health of the well by boosting their immune system. There's a system called Panchakarma. There are 5 methods of boosting your immune system. So similarly, homeopathy, Heinemann first believed that your own body can cure it. And of course, he then had the similibus and various other things, theories. These are all theories. And they're built up. But let me tell you the history of homeopathy in the West. The Homeopathic Association of the United States of America is much older than the American Medical Association. 40 years older than it. And who started it? American doctors. Why did they start it? They found their modern medical system at that time was so bad that even their president was killed. He had typhoid fever and the method was bloodletting. When you have fever, you bloodlet. And George Washington's blood was all drained because of the typhoid fever. By the time the typhoid fever came down, he had no blood at all and he went to meet his maker in heaven. So a lot of doctors didn't like that. So they studied Heinemann and became Homeopathic Association. But then the money-making doctors, because bloodletting is a big money-making. After 40 years, they joined together and formed American Medical Association. And they fought the Homeopathic Association in the court. And the court said homeopathy is not science. Modern medicine is science. And then homeopathy died. But after 10 years, McWilliams, who was the president of the American Medical Association, said, I quote, we did not fight the homeopaths on science. We fought them because they came to our area and started making money out of our patients. Did you get that? So all Sunday, Sunday. Before money came, there was no problem for mankind at all. We all loved each other. That money is the problem that came. How did modern medicine become science in America? in 1899, there was a man called D.P. Palmer who, like Heinemann, thought of another system which is called chiropractic. His idea was all things are balanced from the brain down to the spinal cord onto the body. Time achina solludungo. And we teachers go by the calendar, not by the clock.
No, you can go ahead. Time is there.
இல்ல எனக்கு ரெண்டு சொல்லுங்க. ஒன்னு பிளேன் போச்சு போகுது. உங்க டைம் ஆச்சு சொல்லுங்க. So Palmer thought of a new system called the chiropractic, and it's very popular, and lot of people started going to chiropractic, homeopathy, etc., etc. So the modern medical people were worried, and more than the doctors, the drug companies were worried. There were only 3 people making drugs those days. One is John Rockefeller, who was in oil business, and then and Andrew Morgan, and the third person was that banker. What's his name? I forget the name. SP somebody. These 3 people were in 3 different business. Andrew Carnegie, etc., were in steel business, and this fellow was in oil business, and the other people were in money business, banking. Then they came together and said, if we compete with one another, we will be weakening ourselves. We make a big consortium. So these 3 people joined together, and they had all the drug companies with their money. Today, for example, Bill Gates owns 67% of the drug companies in the world. So if you have money, you can do all that. So now what happened? These people are a consortium, and they were funding 47 medical colleges in America, of the 147 medical colleges, to do research on their chemicals. What are the chemicals? The Rockefellers were extracting petrol from naphtha, and while petrol comes out, there's a clean fluid coming out, which is called new joel in Latin. New joel means new oil. They said, why waste this? So they called a few chemists and said, can you find out if there is any powerful medicine in this? So the chemists joined together, they agitated some rats and injected this into the rat. So the rat which was running around just became a zombie, lied down. So they said, this is nice. You can give it to human beings who are agitated. These mad people is going around. So first came chlorpromazine, largactil. Ninga edo doctor edutha poina largactil kodupane. Idella rocket fuel la irundhu vandhathu. Ella from naphtha. The first antibiotics, these sulfonyls, came from naphtha again. And this chlorpromazine is the first psychiatric drug manufactured from Nujol. From there to SSIs, every single antipsychotic drug has done more harm than good so far, because they are all reductionist chemicals. They damage the system when they do some good also. But what the chemists did not find out is when the thing becomes a zombie, it eventually dies, the rat. So that same thing happens to man also. We didn't realize that. So these people appointed a one-man commission by bribing the president in 1910. His name was Flexner, Abraham Flexner. And who was Flexner? He was a headmaster of a school in New York run by Andrew Carnegie Foundation. A retired headmaster becomes one-man commission to assess the scientific validity of medical education in America. Can you believe that? And in 6 months, Flexner gives a report saying that only those 47 medical colleges are doing scientific work because they are trying the medicine on the rats. Rest of them are all unscientific. With one stroke of the pen, one legislature, all the other medical colleges are closed by the government. That is where medicine became scientific. My medicine, modern medicine became scientific. Your medicine became unscientific. That's all. And what is science? A lot of you think that science is a big institution, like, government of Tamil Nadu or something like that. No, science is just a method. A child is the best scientist. Have you seen a child? You haven't observed a child. If you have a little child, buy a toy today. Go home, you buy a 1,000 rupees toy. Give it to the child. It will be so happy. It will look at the toy every day, up and down, and keep it in a safe place. Next day, come back and lick it to see whether there is any taste. Keep it. Third day, it will smell to see whether there is anything. 5th day, it will break it. Then you are mad because 1,000 rupees pochin. No, your child is the best scientist. What was it doing? It was using all the 5 senses to find out what is there inside. That is called science. Science is curiosity. And if you want a definition of science, organized curiosity. Child doesn't organize its curiosity. Child doesn't know that it should not break it. There are scientists also who break it. Actually, there is a Nobel laureate physicist Whenever he visits a lab, all the instruments get broken. You probably must have read about him. Fascinating man. Eventually, when he was passing through a city, the laboratory instruments were getting broken. So much power he had. This is now known as, some people have very powerful things. You walk into our Ramanathan's office, because he's a good man, there's a lot of positive energy there. You feel so happy when you go to his office. Suppose you go to another IAS officer's house, they are full of negative energy. The minute you get in, you get headache. அங்கே போகிறது வேண்டாம், அடுத்த வாட்டி நான் போக மாட்டேன். ராமநாதன் சாருக்கு போனால் நான் கூட போனோம், ரொம்ப நல்ல ஆடவர், அவர்கிட்ட போகணும் அப்படின்னு. நான் நிஜமாக சொல்கிறேன், பொய் சொல்லலை. ஐ எம் டாக்கிங் ஆஃப் ஃபிசிக்ஸ், வெரி ஹை ஃபிசிக்ஸ். Again, not to please Ramanathan, because I am not in Tamil Nadu, don't worry. I am not asking for any favors. So, if I were a Tamil Nadu, I couldn't speak all this. So, because he is your head. Now, coming back to medicine, there is no validity for this science, etc., etc. Homeopathy can be as scientific as any other thing, provided you keep your records, which you don't. I know a homeopath in Bangalore who has got a big name. Anybody you say, ரொம்ப நல்ல ஆள், அவர்கிட்ட போனால் என்ன கூட ஹீல் பண்ணுவார். One day I called him. I said, come, I want to talk to you. And he said, sir, I respect you like God. I'll come, sir. He's so busy, I believe. 3 months appointment to see him. He came to my hotel room. Then I told him, okay, what all you do? Hypertension, I have treated, sir, hundreds of patients. I have been doing my research in hypertension all my life. So I said, fine, do one thing. You get all your documents. And I have a journal where we call as Science of Healing Outcomes. I'll publish your data. Now it's 1 year. The fellow never came back. But the records illa. See, that's a problem. My father had cancer when I was a student in the medical college. So he had conventional treatment, nothing happened. Cancer, nothing happens anyway. But somebody said, that is one Kuekodi car, like Kopi car. There is a Kuekodi car in Mangalore. Very famous. Ella cancer, ella poidam. Sorry, ella poi in the Mangalore, poi in the Kuekodi car shop, poi ukande. Within 1 week, it will be all right. He will give some packets, 5 packets. And first week, my father was much better because placebo effect. Nothing happened. But this man was going on giving. Those days, I didn't know much about homeopathy or medicine or anything. I couldn't ask him anything. So we used to go faithfully, pay money, get the medicine. Eventually, my father died when he had to die. May his soul rest in peace. This should not be done. That's not science. Science is, you say, okay, I can treat cancer. How many cancer patients have you treated? What is their records? Where are the records? What kind of cancer they had? See, for every science, you must have one fixed entity, another movable entity. The disease must be fixed. Treatment is movable. So you say, my treatment cured that disease. That is not there. There are studies done in homeopathy using the modern medical reductionist RCTs. There are 3 studies done. The 3 drugs they have studied. One is Sambucus nigra, Arum triphyllatum for upper respiratory infections. Glasgow University did this study, which is very, very good results. But then that kind of study you must have, which you don't have. Today we know homeopathy is very, very scientific because water has a structure. Water is not H2O. That's old chemistry. People are still in the old chemistry only. Water is a very complicated structure with a lot of loose bonds. Even if you put 1 drop of a chemical in a bucket of water, the whole water's energy structure changes. Then you take that bucket and put it in a bigger bucket, the structure changes. And then any amount of water you use, the structure remains the same. And that is the energy which heals. Remember that? So it's an energy medicine. Homeopathy is an energy medicine. Even if you give the pill and powder, etc., etc., they're all in nanoforms. So if you take it to the laboratory of a common pharmacology, they say, hey, idhil onnu illa. Thanni dhaan irukku, onnu illa. And the science where is the science where? Avanukku nanoparticles ennaanu theriyadu. So they are all in nanoparticles. There is very good medicine. So you must know this. You must do research on that. I went to your institute, National Institute. Anga poi nanoparticles ennaanu kaakkranga. National Institute of Homeopathy, which takes so much of taxpayers' money. I was telling the director, what are you doing? He was telling me, sir, you come and motivate our postgraduate students. Postgraduate student enna ava ide similibus similam ide sollittu irukan. Naan solla adu history pa. Avadi ella nare history irukku. What are you doing? What is geography? Nee enna panne? That is the problem. And you, homeopaths, are responsible for homeopaths' downfall. Every week on Tuesday, there is a 1-page article in The Guardian in London, which is written by a young doctor called John Goldacre, who is paid heavily money from the drug companies, who says, the death of homeopathy, that's the heading. நீங்க ஒரு ஆளு கூட ஒரு லெட்டர் டு தி எடிட்டர் எழுதலையே. In the as I only wrote, because it's not easy to do that because people will curse you. I wrote to the Guardian and they allowed me just a small page. I said, look, you have given him whole page. Give me one whole page. I'll tell him how bad his writing is. They won't give it. நீங்க ஏதாவது பண்ணீங்களா? பண்ணல. In defense of homeopathy, there's an article of mine called In Defense of Homeopathy. Internetல போய் பாருங்க. That is where you must do science and prove yourself. சும்மா political fight பிரயோஜனம் இல்லை. You have an association and say Inkilab Jindabad, that's all right for politicians. You and I should show, look, I mean what I say. I say what I mean. And that's called the Indian culture. Indian culture என்ன தெரியுமா? Dance இல்லை, na பாட்டு இல்லை. Culture is what you do when nobody is looking at you. What I say here can all be nonsense because I can say anything and get away with it. That is the outer face. That's called personality. You know what personality is? Your president said Hegde is a very big personality. But personality is a mask. Persona in Italian language is a mask which Nero used to use, which came to Victorian English and became personality. That's how you show yourself to the world. But ulla enna irukku paakana. Adha Indian culture. Vakevam kritayevam sajjanam, vakaivam kritayevam durjanam. One who says what he talks and what he does, and one who does what he talks is a good man. One who talks something and walks something else is a bad man. That's called walking your talk. Not on the television with that balded man. It's really walking your talk is doing what you really mean and saying what you really do. And you must have the courage to do that. And that requires a lot of courage, I tell you. And that is Indian culture. And that is, you must be honest to yourself. You must have only one boss, not your wife or husband, not your headmaster or IAS officer, not your God or chief minister or prime minister, but your own conscience. You should be able to answer that at the end of the day. You are a good man. Go home, stand before a mirror and ask yourself, B.M. Hegde, what foolish things have you done today? Then you improve tomorrow. And that is called Anubhuti, not Anubhava. I have got 40 years Anubhava as a homeopath. What is that? You have been doing the same mistake for 40 years. No, Anubhuti is, I make a mistake, go home and feel bad, can improve that tomorrow and become a better man. That's called competing with yourself, which is excellence. You say, I am first rank in the class. What is that? Mediocrity. You are better than the others. Others may be fools, you are a little better fool, that's all. If you are wise, you know you are a fool. But when you are a fool, you think you are very wise. That's the difference. Do you get that? Even the wisest man in the world was Goethe. Johanna von Goethe. Goethe was a great man in Germany. And he said one day, I now know philosophy, physiology, jurisprudence, medicine, even alas theology, from end to end with labor skein. But here I stand, O fool, with all my lore, no wiser than before. எனக்கு அது இருக்கு, PhD இருக்கு, MD இருக்கு, அது இருக்கு, இது இருக்கு. I am the same as that I was before I had all those. Degree is not important. How have you acquired wisdom as you go along and how have you improved? That is the most important part of the whole story. Did you get that? And to be a homeopath, you must be a good human being. To be a good human being, you must be true to your conscience. To be true to your conscience, you should do what you do outside, you should do it when no one is looking at you also. There should not be two different things. But what's the problem with the world, do you know? So beautifully put by that romantic poem, British poet, William Wordsworth. There's a poem called The World is Too Much With Us. நமக்கு பணத்தான், இந்த உலகத்தில் பணம் தான் நமக்கு இருக்கு. நல்ல சொல்றான். The world is too much with us, late and soon. Getting and spending, we seem to have lost our powers. Little do we see in nature that is ours. And we seem to have lost our heart, a sordid boon. என்ன நல்ல சொல்ற பாத்தீங்களா? நமக்கு என்ன சும்மா பணம் வரணும், பொசிஷன் வரணும், நான் மேலே போகணும், நான் அதாகணும், நான் இதாகணும், நான் பிரசிடென்ட் ஆஃப் இந்தியா ஆகணும், அதுதான் நமக்கு ஆலோசனை. இது இல்லை. இந்த உலகத்தில் எவ்வளவோ நல்ல விஷயங்கள் இருக்கு. உங்கள் பூனை, வீட்டில் இருக்கிற பூனை, when it gets a tummy ache, does it go to a homeopath or a modern medicine man? No, it goes to the garden and it knows what to eat, what grass to eat. You have a tummy ache, you come to me, I will give you a proton pump inhibitor. So your tummy ache apparently goes because you thought I am a good doctor. But the proton pump we need to produce a heart attack after 5 years. You don't know that. You have a headache, you come to me, I give you a powerful painkiller, headache gone, 10 years later you can get a heart attack. Then say, அவருக்கு என்ன heart attack வந்தது? அவன் நல்ல சாப்பிடுறதில்லை, அவன் ஸ்மோக் பண்ணுறதில்லை, அவன் இந்த பெயின் கில்லர் எடுத்துகிட்டே இருந்தான், பின்ன எப்படி ஹார்ட் அட்டாக் வராக மீட்டுவான்? This is a problem. I'll tell you a simple thing. Now you have, let's say you get bitten by, your child gets bitten by that red ant. வீட்டில் சைல்டுக்கு இன்னைக்கு பரீட்சை, அங்கே காலில் போனால் ஒரு ரெட் ant கிடச்சிது, ஒரே ஒரு எரிச்சல். Then you immediately go with a little red swelling, you go to the doctor. He says, oh, this is allergy. Allergy என்னன்னு அவருக்கு தெரியாது, அது எலர்ஜின்னு சொன்னார். உடனே அவர் ஒரு ஆன்டி எலர்ஜி கொடுப்பார், ஒரு எவோமின், ஒரு ஜீட் ஏதாவது கொடுப்பார். அது என்ன பண்ணுறதுன்னா, இங்கே கையில் it improves the vascular permeability so that more blood comes to the area, swelling disappears after some time and you get relief. But when it goes to the brain, same thing goes to the brain, because brain is a hand is the same. You have a brain in the hand also. And in the brain, histamine is required for the cells to work. You knock off the histamine by antihistaminics. So child goes to the exam hall, அங்கே என்ன எழுதுறது, பரீட்சை என்ன கேட்டிருக்காங்க அதே தெரியாது, என்ன எழுதுறது அதே தெரியாது. Child will probably fail the exam. Or you are leaving, you have taken the antihistamine, you are driving the child to school. You are driving, then suddenly you fall asleep and you meet with an accident. இது என்ன side effect of the drug? It is called ADR, adverse drug reaction. அது ஹோமியோபதியில் இல்லை. என்னத்துக்குன்னா, dose is so small it can't do any harm. And as a matter of fact, there is a new chemistry called hormesis. Any drug in a small dose, even a poison, is good for the human system. In the bigger dose, it kills you. I'll give you an example. You have a heart attack, you come to me. Do you know what I give you in the hospital? Rat poison. Warfarin is rat poison. I give you warfarin to keep your blood flowing. And warfarin is rat poison. At home, you give a bigger dose of warfarin to the rat, it bleeds and dies. So a small dose is good. You eat a tomato every day in the morning. Contains about 25 milligrams of vitamin C with so many other lycopenes. And every day you eat it, your chance of getting cancer goes down by 5%. Instead of that, you say, tomato யாரையா சாப்பிடுறேன் காலையில், அந்த ஒரு வைட்டமின் சி டேப்லெட் கொண்டு வானா அப்படி சாப்பிட்றேன், ஈஸி. நான் ஷர்ட் கோட்டு போடுறப்பல சாப்பிடலாம். இந்த டொமேட்டோன்னா அந்த ட்ரெஸ்ஸில் எடுத்துகிட்டு இந்த டொமேட்டோ இதில் ட்ரெஸ்ஸில் வரும். If you eat every day vitamin C tablet, your chance of getting cancer goes up after 5 years. This is called hormesis. HORMESIS. இது கண்டுபிடிச்சானே அவன் பேரு Edward Calabrese. He was professor of chemistry in the same department where Linus Pauling was the head of the department. Linus Pauling is a man who got Nobel Prize for vitamin C, etc., etc. Linus Pauling was so angry. எப்படி vitamin C கெட்டது நீ சொல்ற? He was the director of research, dismissed. Not only dismissed, he said this man is a dangerous fellow, he is this, that, and he was a very powerful man with the government. Edward Calabrese was completely demonized, lost his job, etc., etc. But Edward Calabrese filed a suit against the department in Stanford, Berkeley University, where he was the professor, and against this fellow, Linus Pauling. Linus was around 95 years at that time. Linus eventually died when he was 96. But Edward got the case, won the case. $10 million compensation. Of course, the man who was to give the compensation is dead, so the university had to give them. And he is reinstated as distinguished professor of chemistry in the Berkeley University now. And he is the man who is right. And homeopathy is hormesis. Small dose always is good for the system. So you must know all these things to tell people, look, we are not squacks. We are doing scientific studies. Now finally, I'll have to tell you something about human body, human illness, and human wellness. Human body is meant to be repaired by itself. We were not made thinking that there will be homeopaths, there will be modern medical people, there will be medical colleges, there will be doctors to treat you. No. You are sent here saying that, look, you have a doctor inside, your immune system. Do you know what we doctors do? We just remove the symptom. The symptom is a friend of ours. I'll give you an example. You have fever, right? The fever is given by your own system, because when the germ enters your body wants to fight and kill the germ. To fight that, temperature is a good killer. So you increase the body temperature is a good killer. Now what do? You come to me, I will give you one metacin. What does it do? It lowers your temperature. Okay. Now metacin does a lot of harm. That's a different thing. But when you lower your temperature, the germ feels, aha, now fight pandre. So 1 day's fever will become 3 days fever because you have taken metacin. Whereas if you didn't take it and leave it alone and just give some tepid sponging and lower the temperature and take rest for 1 day, your fever is gone the next day. But of course, if you have malaria, it won't go like that. You have to kill the germ. But by lowering your temperature, you are not going to get better. You are going to get worse. So to do that, things like homeopathy are good because it doesn't abruptly do anything, any damage. It goes slowly. And that's the best way to do it. But at the same time, you must know, for example, arum trifilitum. If you get a sore throat or a cold or a cough, arum trifilitum is very good. And Sembukar Naire, mother tincture itself, is actually combined together, they are very good. But what happens is, we don't even have studies to show that this helps. We simply go on saying, na pandra na periya homeopath avarita pora ella sheriyadum. You will depend on this kind of false publicity. No. We must have, you must be able to prove your worth in any forum, be it a court, be it a meeting. You should be able to defend yourself. Of course it is difficult because you are going against the mainstream, and the mainstream is money. And anybody who goes against money, he is not a good man. He is always condemned. Today, no, if you make money, you are respected. How you make money, nobody will ask. The minute you have a lot of money, they come with a garland, you become a big fellow. Suddenly you become a big man. Don't you see a lot of these unwanted elements, antisocial elements today are respected people? And they know how to make their black into white by getting respectability in society. So if you say, look, homeopathy, I will do good to everybody, it doesn't have to spend so much money. I am going to transplant that liver itself. This fellow is saying he is giving some medicine. What is this fellow, foolish fellow? I will give a new liver. But he won't tell you what happens after the transplant. It's like somebody will put, yesterday there was 2 aneurysms in one man treated very rarely. The paper doesn't find out what happened to the patient. One day there was a huge big paper, press conference in Ashok Hotel in Bangalore. First ever heart transplant done in Bangalore. So the further of this, blah, 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 blah. Including Chief Minister was there. Patient was dead. He had tube in the hospital. But the press conference was already called. So the big press conference. And the press never said what happened to the patient. Christian Bernard did the first heart transplant on Blaber. Blaber could not even get up from bed. But they produced an artificial swimming pool in the intensive care unit itself. Today's digitized photographs, anything can be made. And they showed the patient swimming after 4 days of heart transplant, first heart transplant. Christian Bernard got billions of dollars. Government gave him money because South Africa was in real dumps. Nobody was touching it. So they wanted respectability. They gave him $2 billion. You go around the world lecturing. All the photos, on the photos. Patient sattu in the advertisement. Adilla. Satyam solana. Kashtam. Homeopaths must do that. And then only you can get respectability. You must have unity among yourselves. And you must, don't fight a battle. Don't fight a battle. But try to improve yourself. You become an excellent homeopath. That is fighting with yourself. You become an excellent human being. You don't become the best homeopath. Best homeopath means you are the best of the lot. No, you become the very good homeopath. So last but not the least, I am telling you is, human well-being does not depend on any one of us. It depends on the government if it really means. UNIDO said India needs 5 things to have health. A, clean drinking water for everybody in India. You see how you come to my house. I am supposed to be a sophisticated human being. You come to my house and I have got a plastic tube which takes that water from the tap to my filter. It's every day it's full of that green mush. So much of muck is there. This is tap water. I am talking of tap water which has got so much fungus in it. I don't know what my filter does, but I drink that because I have no other water to drink. Clean drinking water for everybody. 60% of the hospital beds can be closed. This is the statistics, correct statistics. 3 square meals a day. Do you know how many people don't have meals here? You and I had one breakfast at home, one breakfast here. Now we know there is a lunch here. We know everything. You all know AIDS because there is so much of paper writing about AIDS. Nobody writes about nights. In Delhi, I am told 20 lakhs children cannot go to school because they don't have trousers to go to school. They can't go with their loincloth. They don't have trousers. Poverty is our biggest problem. So 3 square meals a day. 3. Every pregnant mother must have nutrition in the first trimester of her pregnancy. If she doesn't have, the child, if it is born alive at all, most of them die, the child will have a very small pancreas, very small heart, very small lung, very small brain, and very small hippocampus major, which is the most important part of the brain for memory, examination, etc., etc. Now what happens to that child if it is born? Then it grows, and if it supposing goes to Dubai or somewhere to work and eats a lot, pancreas is so small, eating is so much, it becomes a diabetic at the age of 25. It goes to school, all kinds of reservations are given, but the hippocampus major is so small, it can't even memorize 2 into 2 is 4. Child will never pass even 7th standard. And this is why I have been writing for the last 25 years that a pregnant mother must get a midday meal in the poor section of the population. Only 2 states did that. Only 2 states in India. One of the states did it only after the new chief minister came into being. And this man heard me somewhere in a talk like this, and he said, "Sir, you must come and become the chairman of my health department. I'll give you a cabinet post." I said, "I don't want cabinet post, I don't want your money, but I'll help you, but I won't stay there because Patna those days was very bad. People used to be abducted every day." And then this man said, "Do what you like." So I go there, he pays my airfare, I help them. Today, I told him, we don't want hospitals. We don't want hospitals. We want only 5 things. Next, a roof on everybody's head instead of the starlit sky for millions. And a toilet for everyone so that hookworm doesn't kill most of us. Most of our children in villages are killed by hookworms, which sucks what little you get. 5, cooking smoke kills women in the village. Cooking smoke with dry leaves and dry twigs emanates carbon monoxide which comes into the house, and a woman dies of a heart attack, but she is not recognized in the 5-star hospital. She doesn't come in the paper. She dies there, and people say the goddess was very angry with her, or she had kannu padichu avarku adachi idachi sattu poittaarnu solluvaanga. Illa, in the pogela dhaan sattu varan. Children below the age of 5 die of pneumonia in the village. So you must have a chula, smokeless chula for the house. Then every girl must go to school or college at least up to the age of 20, not for a degree, to prevent her from getting married. Because if you get married before 20, your fertility rate is almost double than after getting married after 25. Last, every village barber must be given a 200 rupees extra money for dinning into the head of the man about family planning, because only peer pressure will help. If the health secretary goes there and talks, avanmo Chennai il irundhu vandirukar ivarkenmo vela irukku nu solluvaanga. In the barber, avanuடைய friend. Barbers are the biggest gossipers. Right from Sonia Gandhi down to the peon, barber knows everything. So this barber must be trained to tell the man, M-A-N, who is a big problem in infertility, the man about family planning. Next, every woman must have some economic empowerment. The husband earns, drinks, eats some fish or chicken in the drinking place itself, comes home empty stomach, empty-handed. The poor woman at home with child starving, she starving, has nothing to eat. She doesn't mind not eating, but her own child not eating, this is the biggest stress for her, and she dies of a cancer or heart attack. So she must have something, some cottage industry, anything you see. I don't know what is good in Tamil Nadu. What I have done in my place is give them 5 plants of jasmine flower. 5 plants, 15 rupees a plant in the nursery, 75 rupees a house. She has to put some cow dung and shade for the sun, piercing sun. And each plant can get her today, because the flowers go to Dubai by the morning flight from Mangalore, and she gets about $1,000 a month income. So Lajjat Pappad in the north, in Bihar what we are doing is Lajjat Pappad. 1 kilogram of the dough, you have to make 100 pappad, and the lady makes it, and then you give it. 4 people making 4 kilograms of dough, the woman gets about 200 rupees a day. There is a boy called Anand Kumar, I don't know if you have heard, whose mother makes pappad, and this boy is a brilliant mathematician who got a scholarship to go to Cambridge but wouldn't go because he didn't have the money to go by plane. His father died, he had 2 sisters. Between the 3 of them making pappad, and this boy teaching rich people's children at night, he is maintaining now 30 poor children who don't even have trousers in his own house. His mother is feeding them and he is teaching them, and this year 30 of the 30 went to IIT and all of them passed. Anand Kumar is an Indian who must get the Bharat Ratna, but he is not even recognized. And the educational mafia in Bihar wanted to kill him. One day he was teaching, the big goon came with a knife to kill him from behind. Teaching where? In his house. And what's the blackboard? His own wall. And one boy saw this man coming with a knife, and this man was writing a formula on the board. So when the man was about to stab him, this boy jumped. And the knife went into the boy's tummy. And intestines came out. But Anand took him to the hospital, took a loan of 2 lakhs from the bank, saw that the boy recovered. This boy passed IIT, and now he has got a job for 6 lakhs a month in America. He left that. He has joined Anand to teach physics. You must one day call this Anand fellow here and ask your younger people to listen to him. Only problem with him is he can't speak English properly. He gives a speech, beautiful speech in Hindi he gives. Now a foreign national organization has recognized him, given him almost a prize much bigger than the Pulitzer Award. But our government has not recognized him. That's the pity. Good people are not recognized at all. There's the real pity. So you can do a lot of good to society in your own way. Being a homeopath, you can do a lot of good. But if you only aim at making money, no. Then I don't think how much good you can do. But if you think doing good is your job, you will do a lot of good. Now friends, now I'll tell you what I told you. All that I said is, don't call yourself a homeopath or a modern medical man, call yourself as a human healer, Healer. And all that you have to have is a healer's heart, a large heart, not in the physical sense, but in the metaphoric sense. At the end of the day, what you get is, reward is gratitude of a patient who says, doctor, you saved my life. You want more money than that? To get that one, you must give me $1 million. Somebody comes suddenly says, doctor, you saved my mother. You suddenly think, it's not correct. I always tell them, look, I don't save, God saves. But he said, no sir, God, we can't see God. We see you in God in you. That's, what more do you want? I tell my wife, this is my bank balance. Why are you worried? It's my bank balance. We have not suffered so far. So we'll go on. What is there to worry about? She says, what do? We go around like a Haridasa lectures here and there. At the end of the day, when you come back, you are minus a few things. These people give a hotel, nice hotel. They pay for the hotel. But every time that fellow gets a cup of tea, you have to pay him 10 rupees. Otherwise, he won't bring you tea next time. So if like this, every hotel you go and stay, and then at the end of the day, you have to have minus from your pocket. So, but then I said, it gives me so much of pleasure. I gave a convocation address at Madras Medical College. I gave a convocation at Stanley Medical College. If I can motivate, one boy wrote an email to me. Sir, you opened my eyes. I'm going to change. I said, my day is done. Even if I get $1 million, I can't do that. This boy said, I am going to change. One boy. There were 127 boys who passed MBBS in Madras Medical College. One boy. Very next morning, I finished my talk at 10 o'clock in the night. Early morning when I get up, there's an email in my box from this boy. That is the happiness you get. So, what happiness do you get? Money will come. Money will come. Don't go after money. If you go after money, you'll never be happy. But it's in giving that you get. Jesus said, it's in giving that you get. And what does the Ishopanishad says? Tena, tyaktena, bunjita, rejoice in giving. And what does Quran say? Zukat, give. It's not for thee alone, pass it on, says Jesus. It's not for you, share it. And the essence of human life is charity. Not charity, but charity. Because your cells love other cells. If you hate others, the cells say, what is wrong with this fellow? I love everybody and this fellow hates somebody. So you get a me-you concept, which means your own body cells start hating your own body cells and produce a huge big disease called autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease is your own body cells hating your own body cells as foreign. So don't think anybody is foreign. We are all children of this great earth. We are all born alike. We are going to die alike. Why in between make life miserable for us? So beautifully put by D.H. Lawrence. Our ingress into this world was naked and bare. Our progress in this world is trouble and care. Care. Patient care is caring for the patient. Our egress from this world will be nobody knows where. But if you do well here, you will do well there. Don't worry. Wherever you go, you will do well. How to be a good human being? I'll give you a simple formula. If you can keep your head when all about you have lost it and blame it on you, If you can walk with the kings but still keep your common touch, if you can mix with the crowd but still keep your virtue, if you can treat triumph and disaster, the two impostors just the same, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds of distance run, you shall be a man, my son, and more, this worth shall belong to you, wrote Rudyard Kipling after staying in India for 8 years, went back and wrote what is called If. Hello? ಶಿವ್ ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ನಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಾತಾಡುವ ಆಯ್ತಾ. So, how to be a good human being? Love all to live well. How to be a good doctor? Love your patients. Not in the love has three meanings in Greek language. One is eros, erotic love. That's what you see in the cinema. Girl runs after a boy, round a tree, and when she is behind the tree, red sari comes in front, it is green sari. Then after some rounds, there is no sari at all, and this is called eros, erotic love. Then the second love, phil, in Greek language, phil, philosophy, phil, Sophia. Phil is love, Sophia is affection, Sophia is wisdom. One who loves wisdom becomes a philosopher. In India, he becomes a philosopher. But the last thing is most important. That's called agapi, agapo, agapi. Agapi means universal compassion. Vinayam, apanayam, O Vishnu. That universal compassion. And that is the kind of thing that gives you satisfaction. Thank you very much. And now I know what you will say when you go home. You know, I had a friend of mine who will go from place to place giving lectures like me. So one day he was in Madras on a Sunday. He was staying in Palm Grove Hotel. He was to lecture in this British Council infront hall, whatever hall it is. And he wanted to write he was a parish priest, but a Protestant one, not the Catholic one. He had a wife at home. Those days there was no email. He wanted to write a letter because he had been going around for a long time. So he wrote a letter, came out of Palm Grove looking for Nungamagam post office. He didn't know. Sunday there was some urchin playing. He said, Paya, eppadipa Nungamagam post office enge? Vaanga sir, இன்னைக்கு நமக்கு holiday, கூட்டிட்டு போறோம். They took him to the post office, he put the letter there. Then coming back he said, oh my God, these children have helped me, what do I do? Let me buy some chocolates for them. He goes to the shop, but the valet is in Palm Grove Hotel. So he tells them, don't worry, in the evening I am going to give a speech in the British Council Hall. It costs you 100 rupees to get in, but for two of you, it is free, I'll give you a note. So he wrote a note and said, go to Venkatraman and give it to him, they will let you in without any money. Children who want to know, a lot of asses like B.M. Hegde will talk, but who will listen? So they said, என்ன சார் பேச போறீங்க நீங்க? நான் priest-ஆ? நான் என்ன பேசுறது? கடவுளை பத்தி பேசுறேன். Way to heaven, heaven-க்கு எப்படி போறது? அந்த வழியெல்லாம் காமிக்கிறேன். And these children burst out laughing. என்ன? சார் உங்களுக்கு போஸ்ட் ஆபீஸ் வழியே தெரியாது. காமிக்கிறீங்க. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hegde, for this frank expression of your ideology and practicality. Yes, the need of the hour is being a human being and a healer. And I'm sure everyone out here will have a lot of good reading and a step forward to open their conscience. May we thank you with a small memento. We will have a short time for questions, if any, from the audience to Dr. Hegde.